Hello, good evening, and welcome to a new episode of Arguably the Reading Quest. I am Nishant. I wish you all a very happy new year 2026. And I know it's delayed now, it's been delayed. The video is delayed. And purposely, I wanted to delay the video because there was such a clamor, such a maddening rat race amongst the YouTubers to upload video on the 30th, on the 31st, on the 1st, on the 5th, as if the world is going to end in Jan itself. I was in no mood to upload the video at all. I wanted to take a long break. I wanted that my audience especially would, take a pause from reading for a while. We'll enjoy their holidays and then we will come back together and then we'll create our own reading list. What the booktubers do not understand, what most of the booktubers do not understand is that reading books is not a kind of vaccine that has to be injected before 15th of Jan or before 31st of December or on the 1st of Jan. It's an ongoing process and let's enjoy the process. In this video today, I particularly wanted to give you a break from reading books and we shall start focusing on reading some shorter essays. So yes, some shorter philosophical essays is the subject of today's discussion. I'll argue why reading essays sometimes is better than reading books and what are the various importance of reading essays. So reading shorter essays rather than full-length books offer profound advantage in an age where time fragments and attention scatters like light through a prism. So rather than reading or engaging with one book in details, it's sometimes advisable that the time that is taken to read or complete just one book could be taken to read 10 to 15 to 20 essays. And that will provide a definite sudden intellectual jump in your cognitive abilities. So the first thing why to read essays is the virtue of brevity. You can see it at my computer screen, the virtue of brevity. So in an essay, the writer is compelled to pursue essence. Every sentence must earn its place. No idea may wander unchecked. This restraint mirrors the ancient idea of sophrosy, which means moderation as a path to clarity. Where a book may meander through valleys of illustrations and anecdotes, the essay ascends directly towards the peak of insight. What is lost in expanse is gained in intensity. A single, finely cut facet of truth refracts more light than a broader, less polished surface. As Aldous Huxley observed in his preface to collected essays, that the essay is a literary device for saying almost everything about almost anything, yet by tradition, almost by definition, the essay is a short piece. The brevity allows the richest interplay of the personal, the factual, and the abstract universal poles that Montaigne mastered and that yield the most satisfying prose when freely traversed. So this is the first reason that you should be, taking a break from reading books and contemplating on reading essays. Now the second point, you can see it at my computer screen, the fragment as a mirror of existence. Life itself arrives not as a continuous narrative, but as moments, flashes of understanding amid the flux. The essay honors this rhythm. It meets us when we are in the interval between obligations, in the quiet of a train carriage, in the pause between sleep. To finish an essay is to complete a small cycle of meaning within the large, unfinished arc of living. In this way, brevity becomes a philosophical discipline, training us all to find completeness in the incomplete. Theodor Adorno, in the essay as a form, captures this beautifully. He says, the essay thinks in fragments, just as reality is fragmentary. And its innermost law is heresy, resisting totalizing systems to present truth in discontinuous, playful bursts that parody the brokenness of the world while protesting it. You can pause it and again listen to what I said. Now the third point that why an essay should be read is because of its multiplicity and the widening of the soul. A book demands allegiance to one voice for weeks. An essay invites conversation with many. In the span of days, one may commune with Montag's skepticism, Woolf's lyricism, Baldwin's moral fire, and Adorno's dialectical rigor. This multiplicity enlarges the self, preventing the subtle tyranny of any single perspective. As Emerson wrote, I am always insincere, as always knowing there are other moods. The essay collection keeps us faithful to that knowledge. Montag, he was the inventor of this form, saw it as a mirror of the self. I quote others only in order the better to express myself. Virginia Woolf echoed this intimacy, noting that a good essay must draw its curtain around us. But it must be a curtain that shuts us in, not out, creating a private yet universal space for reflection. George Orwell in Why I Write valued the essay for its capacity to blend aesthetic enthusiasm with political purpose, turning personal observation into a tool for pushing the world toward justice without the exhaustion of grand narratives. Consumption over contemplation. You can see it at my computer screen. Because an essay can be held whole in the mind at once, it invites genuine contemplation rather than mere accumulation. We are more likely to return to a paragraph, to question its premise, to allow it to unsettle us. The brevity fosters the suspension of judgment and thus a deeper engagement with ideas. In reading less, we may think more. And last virtue of reading an essay over a full-length book is attention as ethical practice. So in an era of endless distraction, the choice to sustain focus for 20 pages rather than 200 is itself an act of resistance. Short forms train the muscle of attention while exhausting it. Without exhausting it, I beg your pardon. They remind us that depth need not require duration. A lightning strike may illuminate more than a long twilight. Book remains irreplaceable for immersion and sustained world building, yet the essay in its disciplined concision teaches a quieter wisdom, that truth often reveals itself more clearly when we approach it with humility, patience, and the willingness to dwell within a bounded space. In embracing the fragment as celebrated by Montag's self-portraiture, Huxley's versatility, Woolf's intimacy, Orwell's clarity, and Theodor Adorno's heretical fragments, we practice a philosophy suited to our own fractured times, one that finds infinity not in endless expansion, but in the perfectly wrought moment. And yet, in today's essay, I am going to suggest you neither Montag, nor Huxley, nor Woolf, nor Orwell, and nor Theodor Adorno. So brace yourself. Please watch the video till the end. So the very first essay that I'm going to suggest you is a name that immediately comes unanimously to all of us, universally. Immediately after Socrates and Plato is a German called Immanuel Kant. So let's start with a very lucid piece of Immanuel Kant. It is also, it can be read as an essay in politics. It can be read as an essay, an exercise in rationalism. So Kant answered the question, what is enlightenment? I have taken, you can download these essays. Don't be in a hurry to buy the books because that may burn a hole in your pocket. I have, however, taken this particular essay from this Princeton Reading in Political Thought, published at Princeton University Press. Quite a pricey edition, but you may skip it. Please download it and read it. I won't insist that you buy the book this time. So, Immanuel Kant's An Answer to the Question, What is Enlightenment? This is to be read. Just a small quote from Immanuel Kant. As the essay itself starts, enlightenment is man's release from his self-incurred tutelage. The tutelage is man's inability to make use of his understanding without direction from another. Self-incurred is this tutelage when its cause lies not in lack of reason, but in lack of resolution and courage to use it without direction from another. Have courage to use your own reason. That is the motto of enlightenment, says Immanuel Kant in an essay, an answer to the question, Colin, what is enlightenment? Interrogative. In the same essay, Kant says that laziness and cowardice are the reason why so great a portion of mankind, after nature has long since discharged them from the external direction, nevertheless remains under lifelong tutelage. And why it is so easy for others to set themselves up as their guardians. It is so easy not to be of age. If I have a book which understands for me, and you see this quote so very well resonates for the condition of our time. If I have a book that understands for me, a pastor who has a conscience for me, a physician who decides my diet and so forth, I need not trouble myself. I need not think if I can only pay others, will easily undertake the irksome work for me. And that is what, as Saul Bellow says, make the packaged opinion so enticing. That the step to competence is to held to be very dangerous by far the greater portion of mankind, says Immanuel Kant. So let's start your new year by reading Immanuel Kant. After Kant, I suggest again a German philosopher, equally great in importance, influenced by Eastern Upanishadic philosophy, Buddhism, and a pessimistic philosopher as the world mistakenly calls him. He is none other than Schopenhauer. So the essay titled is The Wisdom of Life. You can download it easily. Don't try to buy the books. Again, these books are very pricey. So this is the Cambridge edition of the works of Schopenhauer, and it is the volume 1 of Pararega and Paralipomena. Pararega and Paralipomena. So the wisdom of life, wherein a misanthrope, a pessimist, a misogynist philosopher like Schopenhauer talks about, what it means to live. And can happiness be an ingredient to good life? And Schopenhauer's answer is no. Happiness doesn't make life meaningful. It doesn't contribute to life. So, and the quote itself resonates. What disturbs and depresses young people is the hunt for happiness on the firm assumption that it must be met with in life. From this arises constantly deluded hope and so also dissatisfaction. Deceptive images of vague happiness hover before us in our dreams, and we search in vain for their original. Much would have been gained if through timely advice and instruction, young people could have had eradicated from their minds the erroneous notion that the world has a great deal to offer them. This is an erroneous notion that the world has a great deal to offer them. So through this essay, Schopenhauer tells us to find something more meaningful, not just go for hedonistic pleasures. Here he's arguing against Epicureanism and the Russell's idea of a conquest for happiness, of course. But how can any talk on essay be complete without the mention of Bertrand Russell? So, of course, the immediate essay of Bertrand Russell that I want to talk about is What I Believe by Bertrand Russell. So, What I Believe again can be downloaded. However, I have taken it from the basic writing of Bertrand Russell. All of you can buy this. This is not that pricey. I think you'll get it at 700 to 800 rupees max at Amazon. The basic writings of Bertrand Russell, wherein this book is divided into 15 different chapters on political philosophy, on ethics, on psychology, on knowledge, on metaphysics, on Russell's autobiographical writing. So what I believe is taken from Bertrand Russell's autobiographical writing. It's an essay of 30 to 35 pages, quite a long one. So this essay is highly recommended, in which Russell says that 3 passions, simple but overwhelmingly strong, have governed my life: the longing for love, the search for knowledge, the unbearable pity for the suffering of mankind. A good social system is not to be secured by making people selfish, but by making their own vital impulses fit in with other people. This is feasible. Those who have produced Stoic philosophies have all had enough to eat and drink. I feel I shall find the truth on my deathbed and be surrounded by people too stupid to understand, fussing about medicines instead of searching for wisdom. I hate being all tidy like a book in a library where nobody reads. Prison is horribly like that, says Bertrand Russell. So will to believe, what I believe is highly recommended. Now the another essay in the series, if you want to read on Plato and Socrates, but you're not sure where to start from, then I suggest you start reading Iris Murdoch. So the essay I'm talking about is taken from this book, Existentialists and Mystics by Iris Murdoch. And the essay titled is The Fire and the Sun. So The Fire and the Sun is a long essay by Iris Murdoch, wherein she talks about Plato's conception of art and poetry and ethics. So a very holistic approach to, Platonic concept of art and philosophy and ethics. So this essay needs to be read, and trust me, it's very engaging, very engaging. It will give you a bird's eye view of almost most of the major writings of Plato. Iris Murdoch, a writer of no less importance, is taken from this book, Existentialists and Mystics. One of her most famous essays immediately after the bylined essay, Existentialists and Mystics. So Iris Murdoch says, love is extremely difficult realization that something other than oneself is real. Not taken from particularly this essay, but this quote, I really find it intriguing. Bereavement is a darkness impenetrable to the imagination of the unbereaved, says Iris Murdoch. So please read Iris Murdoch. Now another essay that I want to suggest to you is on the relationship between animals and humans. And no, it's not about the debate between vegetarianism and non-vegetarianism. It's about something much larger. It's about, how animals have disappeared from our lives. How human beings and animals are no longer in touch. So, the essayist I'm talking about is John Berger. You see, this is a beautiful black cover paperback. John Berger's selected essays. And the essay I am talking about is Why Look at Animals? ? Why Look at Animals? And this is published at Bloomsbury. You can buy this book. When I bought it, it was close to 900 rupees. I don't know what is the price right now, but you may if you... So John Berger. So John Berger broke new grounds with his penetrating writing on life, art, and how we see the world around us. Here he explores how the ancient relationship between man and nature has been broken in the modern consumer age. With animals that used to be at the center of our existence, now marginalized and reduced to spectacles. Throughout history, some books have changed the world. They have transformed the way we see ourselves and each other. They have inspired debate, dissent, war, and revolution. They have enlightened, outraged, provoked, and comforted. They have enriched lives and sometimes destroyed them. So this is one such book. John Berger's Why Look at the Animals? ? In which John Berger writes, and I quote, public Jews came into existence at the beginning of the period which was to see the disappearance of animal from daily life. The Jew to which people go to meet animals, to observe them, to see them, is in fact a monument to the impossibility of such encounters. Animals in Jew constitute a living monument to their disappearance from people's lives. The marginalization of animal is now being followed by the marginalization of the social classes who used to be the most familiar with animals. So not only animals, along with that, the social class who used to be the most familiar with animals are also marginalized. And so what happened? Anthropomorphism was the residue of the continuous use of the animal metaphor. I again repeat, anthropomorphism was the residue of the continuous use of animal metaphor. In the last 2 centuries, animals have gradually disappeared. Today we live without them, and in this new solitude, anthropomorphism makes us doubly uneasy, says John Berger. And then John Berger writes, this reduction of animal, which has a theoretical as well as an economic history, is part of the same process as that by which humans have been reduced to isolated productive and consuming units. The conceptual framework in which the neo-Darwinists and the creationists debate is of such limited imagination that the contrast with the immensity of the process whose origin they are searching is flagrant. They are like two bands of 7-year-olds who, having discovered a packet of love letter in a dustbin, try to piece together the story behind the correspondence. Both bands are ingenious, but the passion of the letter is beyond their competence, says John Berger. So highly recommended, John Berger. Now one more essay on animal, and this time not on the marginalization of animal from human lives, rather how we human beings have treated animals, from one of the greatest living philosopher of ethics today. And he is sometimes called the world's most influential philosopher. I hope some of you must have guessed. If you not, his name is Peter Singer. I'm talking of Peter Singer. And the essay is taken from this book of Peter Singer. So this is again hardbound at Routledge, a hardcover book. Basic Readings in Philosophy. It's a compilation of essay, anthology of essay edited by Nigel Warburton. And the essay titled is All Animals Are Equal. Those who have read Peter Singer, they must be sure about the ingenuity of Peter Singer. And he's no small name when it comes to ethics and animal liberation. So Peter Singer, is called the grandfather of the modern animal rights movement, even though he doesn't base his philosophical views on rights, either for humans or for animals. In 2005, Time magazine named Singer one of the 100 most influential people in the world. And he was also ranked third among the global thought leader for 2013. And he has since slipped to 36th. He is known especially for his work on the ethics of our treatment of animal, for his controversial critique of the sanctity of life doctrine in bioethics, and for his writing on the obligations of the affluent to aid those living in extreme poverty. So Peter Singer says that all the arguments to prove man's superiority cannot shatter this hard fact. In suffering, the animals are our equals. The animals themselves are incapable of demanding their own liberation or of protesting against their conditions with votes, demonstrations, or bombs. Human beings have the power to continue to oppress other species forever or until we make this planet unsuitable for living beings. Will our tyranny continue? Proving that we really are the selfish tyrants that the most cynical of poets and philosophers have always said we are, ? Or will we rise to the challenge and prove our capacity for genuine altruism by ending our ruthless exploitation of the species in our power? Not because we are forced to do so by rebels or terrorists, but because we recognize that our position is morally indefensible, ? The way in which we answer this question depends on the way in which each one of us individually answers it, says Peter Singer. So two very important essays on animals, one by John Berger and one by Peter Singer. Now come to existentialism. I hope I have already done a video on existentialism, but this time I'm suggesting a very short classics on existentialism. That is by Simone de Beauvoir. What is existentialism by Simone de Beauvoir? This is published at Penguin, Greater Ideas series. So what is existentialism by Simone de Beauvoir? Collects two essays. One is a small one, a titular one, which is just 8 pages long. Her first published essay, and the 1944 essay, Pyrrhus and Cineas. So there are two essays. One is just 8 pages long, and one is Pyrrhus and Cineas. Much like, what is the meaning of life, existentialism can also be tough to define. And here, Simone de Beauvoir tries to focus on such questions. And together these two essays form a wonderful introduction into the idea of existentialism, examining ideas on how our task is to fashion the world by giving it a meaning, as well as the journey to ascribing meaning in a world where our lives are finite and the journey never ending. So if Sartre's introduction to existentialism can be summarized as man is condemned to be free, de Beauvoir's introduction can be summarized as, and after that what? ? So what is existentialism? Great Idea series on Penguin. This you can buy or maybe you can download. Now again, one more essay by one of the most outspoken conservative philosopher. Yes, conservatism is a name that has been much abused. But I'm not sure how many people have really understood what conservatism is. So you must read Roger Scruton to understand, what it means to be a conservative. And Roger Scruton was no small name. He was a fellow of the Royal Society of Literature. So I'm taking Roger Scruton from this book again, Philosophy Basic Readings, it's hardbound at Routledge. And the essay titled is Photography and Representation, wherein Roger Scruton talks about photography as an art and, what difference does it make in the human volition when it comes to painting vis-a-vis photography, and how it has, changed us philosophically from painting to photography, and what does representation means. So Roger Scruton, no quotes, I'm shunning the quotes here. Roger Scruton from this book, you may download it, Photography and Representation. Now last but not the least, a man of profound wisdom, a sage from India, I would say, Rabindranath. And this is taken from The Best of the Tagore, published at Everyman's Classic. And the essay titled is A Vision of India's History by Rabindranath. It's quite long, 25 to 30 pages long essay, wherein Rabindranath talks about, and he quotes plentifully on, what makes us Indian, how we have assimilated a plethora of knowledge, an amalgamation of culture, a confluence of, thoughts, identity and races. And he quotes plentifully from Upanishads, from Ved, from Yog Vasisht, from Patanjali Yoga Sutra. I mean, here Tagore's erudition as a person who is erudite in India's philosophy, Vedic philosophy, has been very prominent. So you need to read Tagore to understand my words. So guys, this is all. I guess I have suggested 9 essays in total. I hope I have done justice to the video. If you are a new subscriber, please do say a hello to me. Please spread the word. If you have still not liked, shared and subscribed my YouTube channel, arguably The Reading Quest, please do that. Happy reading, guys. Thank you.